The idea of community policing.
Yes.
And how it really makes a difference if. Why don't you define community policing for us first?
Well,
Okay.
it's fascinating because you have, I mean, some part of this sort of just the immediate response to policing is, that authority is the problem. I mean, there's a lot of people who feel that way. People in challenged neighborhoods and
Right.
who have lived and struggled, feel that there is some oppression coming from law enforcement. So, and there is a lot wrong with our policing.
Right.
Just like every system that we have, we need reforms badly to make things equitable, so that it is a level playing field.
Right.
So that people
Right.
who are innocent don't get harassed. I mean, there's a lot of truth to that we really need to check ourselves. And quite frankly, the city has committed to doing that maybe 10 years ago and have been. But we needed to, then we had COVID, and there was a lot of pressure to defund the police, and, being able to reform at the same time as keeping streets safe, it's challenging, and we really need.
You have to find middle ground with a lot of these things, just like what you're
Yeah.
saying between the landlords and the tenants.
Absolutely.
It's like, and this is what we see in general.
Yes.
You start with this kernel, which is like small local issues,
Absolutely.
and it goes on and on and on out into these bigger.
Absolutely.
Bigger,
it all happens locally,
yeah.
And it's,
Yeah.
I have said it a lot that, we end up being yes, no, instead of really getting down to how do we solve this?
Exactly, and given the situations that we're in now, we'll
Absolutely.
get to that in a minute. Let's stick with San Francisco
Yes,
for a little bit,
yes.
but yeah, it goes all the way to global
Yeah,
situations
yeah.
that we have to get past yes, no.
But I feel like this mayor and likely the next mayor are committed
Yeah.
to really getting into this century better policing strategies.
Yeah.
I found being on the commission, almost everyone in San Francisco agrees with that.
Yeah.
So, it just, that's where I tried to approach that position, that commission position. We do need to come together around this, because if we continue to just fight yes, no, we're going to lose support for reform. So
Right,
there's no
right,
point in this.
right.
We really need to come together with solutions.
Yeah. So community policing really involves outreach into the community, but again, asking, what do you need?
Yeah.
What do you need?
Yes.
What would work for you?
And each community is different,
Right.
and I do feel it's hiring folks from the community.
Right.
The department is committed to 30-30, which is by 2030, we're going to hire 30% women. We need more women on the force. We need
Right.
more officers from communities of color.
Right.
We're doing really well with that. But we also need to have alternatives. We need to have our departments who work on mental health issues and addiction issues have some sort of authority to make people get treatment,
Get
for
help.
instance. Yeah, I feel like that's missing in the equation. It shouldn't be the cops doing it.
Yeah.
It really does need to be health officers, and we've got some street officers now. The fire department has a street response, and again, in many cases, they're coming in with a more strict edict of, you can't stay here.
Right.
So your choice is you're either going to, be in a violation of a law and go through that process, or you're going to go get housing, get treatment, get help.
And it seems like training in compassion is really,
Absolutely.
really, really important. And I don't
Yeah.
know where San Francisco is at with that these days, but that seems so important. One of the things that I've seen, I grew up in Oakland, where
Yeah.
policing was really an issue.
Yeah, it still is.
Still is. And I always felt like there was the police. My dad was a criminal attorney, so I got to know a whole bunch of the police officers, and they really had an us and them viewpoint. And even as a child, I thought, this doesn't work. This
doesn't.
doesn't work for them to see themselves as separate, different, and in charge without really finding out what's going on with these people and calling them or calling them
Yeah.
worse than them in the case of, racism.
That's right.
So, I think that Is San Francisco thinking about that more, bringing more
Absolutely.
compassion training
Yes.
and more understanding?
You know, I watched a lot of the trainings. I went to a lot of the trainings that happened in San Francisco, and
Yeah,
you know, the de-escalation part is truly about
yeah,
that because
yeah.
it requires the officer to figure out where the person is.
Yeah.
That's compassion.
See, that's
That's
it. That's
compassion.
it. That's it. If I found you lying on the ground, I
Yes,
wouldn't think, oh, we got to arrest her. I mean, we have to find out, well, okay, what's going on?
absolutely.
What's happened with you? Well,
And we went, you know, I've done a lot of ride-ons, especially in the Tenderloin, and you know, I would say I'm going to stop over here see what's going on, and even the issues that were there's a lot of drug use on the street, so you know, but it's talking to the women out there who they want to talk to women. I mean, you know, even one of the
yeah,
officers I was
yeah,
with said, "Gosh, you were good at getting that person." It's like sometimes just being a woman
yes,
helps because
yes,
you know, she was clearly struggling, and you know, do you have a place to live? Yes, I have a place to live, but you know, my partner beats me up. And I'm like, well, let's find a place where you don't get that, where you're willing to, you know. And then, you know, unfortunately at the time it would take too long for someone to come and pick her up to take her someplace. That's where we need that.